Well, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to day number 53 on the Vendée Globe course. We're live in the English, and this is, of course, the last day of 2020, and for some of us, the last days of being European. The good news this morning is that our favourite Boris, the intelligent, good-looking, multilingual, charismatic, prudent German Boris, the one with the fine choice in knitwear, is on the march, and he's up to 5th.
Sunset on Sea Explorer Yacht Club de Monaco. One day before New Year's Eve. We have a big depression that we leave behind. And 24 hours of light wind. Looking forward to that.
Well, Boris there figuratively and literally leaving the depression behind, 2020, leaving us in 2021 approaching quick. And good to see Pip Hare flying the British flag up to 16th place today and in the top half of the fleet, as you like to point out. And the other, meantime, where is the other Boris? Well, there you go. All at sea. Meantime, a stretch at the front, Charlie Dallin and Yannick Besthaven still going in front of the frontal system, making good speeds between 19 and 20 knots today. Thomas Ruyant is in 4th, kind of in the second group, now unfortunately behind the system. His timing has just been a little bit unfortunate, not really necessarily of his doing. My guest today, well, today is Thursday, and that means we're joined by Marcus Hutchinson in Ireland. Marcus, a team manager for Thomas Ruyant's team, and also Géry Trentesaux, who is a many times offshore racing winner with his courier yachts, and also he's a prime mover within the business support network for Thomas Ruyant's team. Géry, welcome, and Marcus, hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good. We're going to start off by very quickly looking at the standings, the classements at midday today. And as I said, Yannick Besthaven leading by 133 miles ahead of Charlie Dallin, both doing 19 or 20 knots this morning. Damien Seguin up to 3rd once again. He's 332 miles behind. Thomas Ruyant in 4th is 417 miles behind the leader, and just a little bit ahead of Boris, who I said is up to 5th. But there's only 1 mile between Sea Explorer Yacht Club de Monaco and Omia Water Family, Benjamin Dutroux, the Vendée favourite. They're very close together, and Boris was close with the Yacht Jean Le Cam yesterday and last night, but he's now almost 20 miles ahead. He did mention in his call this morning that Le Cam was sailing with smaller sails. He had a reef and a small fractional Jenica up, and he is indeed a little bit, or he was a little bit slower overnight, but Le Cam's in 7th, Isabelle Josch in 8th, Maxime Sorel 9th, and Louis Burton, as we said a few days ago, back up into the top 10, and certainly the quickest of that second group just now is Louis Burton on Buro Valley 2. Giancarlo Padotti in 11th, further down the table, we're looking at Alan Rura in 15th. Quite steady, but he's probably about just over 50 miles ahead of Pip Hare. As I said, Pip Hare up to 16th, doing 12.6 knots this morning. Jeremy Bayou in 18th, the quickest of the fleet, doing 20.1 in a good weather system just now. Didac Costa going nicely on One Planet, One Ocean. He's doing 15.6 knots. But to note that there's now 500 miles or so between Pip Hare and Didac Costa, just shows how a small gap can quickly become a big gap over a few days on the Vendée Globe. Meantime, 23rd, Miranda Merrin, nice and steady, as indeed is Ari Hosela on board the 26th place start. And just in passing, a quick internet question for us today came from Sue Baker, who asked how Sebastian Destremo is doing. As far as we know, he's still going towards Tasmania. He's keeping a very conservative course. He's making 3 or 4 knots just now, but no further news of any problems or any further problems on board Mercy with Sebastian Destremo. So we're going to start with Marcus. Marcus, Thomas down in 4th just now. Timings really have not been in his favour in recent days, have they?
Sorry, was that for me, Andy?
Yeah, sorry, Marcus. Yeah, I was just asking, saying, and just observing the timings really have not worked in Thomas's favour recently.
No, they haven't. They haven't at all. He's as we all know, he's compromised on starboard tack. With his bad foil, and so he doesn't really have the same performance that he would like to move about, and it's beginning to take its toll. But as you rightly pointed out, we can't blame it all on the boat. We can't blame it all on the weather. It's a combination of things, and regrettably, timing is everything when you're dealing with weather systems. And Thomas hasn't had all the breaks his way as far as weather's concerned. That's for sure.
And this is a very difficult part of the race leading into Cape Horn. It's really all about mental fortitude and the ability to keep the boat up to speed and staying prudent, isn't it?
It totally is. I was explaining that to somebody yesterday, that in fact this is the first time since they've left Les Sables d'Olonne that land has become a feature in their routing calculations, because they're about to hit this point of convergence, which is Cape Horn, the last big cape of the race. But until now, they've had full liberty to express themselves on vast swathes of the ocean, north and south. The ice gate has obviously come into it a certain amount, but as we know, that's virtual. But for now, they have to position themselves very carefully to tackle Cape Horn, the bottom of Chile, and that approach, because as you probably will tell us later, there is a big depression coming, and you really want to make sure that you get out of the Pacific in good shape. It's not a place to have problems this last little bit before Cape Horn.
Indeed, it's not. Géry, what are your thoughts on Thomas's race? You've obviously followed it all the way through.
Yeah, I'm following Thomas, but I think he probably did tactically a mistake to not control the boats behind him. He probably was too north, and as say Marcus, he has problem with one foil, so it's walking on one leg. So, but the main things for him is to finish the race.
And what's it been like following the race for you, Géry?
I am behind my computer, so I am looking every 4 hours or 5 hours the race, but it's before to be a race, it's an adventure. So as we saw half an hour ago, Charlie Dalin, they seems all very, very tired.
Indeed, but you stay serene the whole time, do you, Géry, or do you get quite nervous, or what's your kind of emotions as you watch, or as an offshore racer, you invest more, or how do you live the race with Thomas?
Yeah, yes, of course. When he has problem, or he had problem, we stress a bit. But I have many crews on this race, so Charlie Dalin sail also on Courrier, so and Isabelle Josque also. So I'm following all the sailors, and I'm very impressed by Boris Herman, Jean Le Cam, and also don't remember the name, but Seguin. Yeah, Seguin did.
It's an amazing race, isn't it? We're going to just go to, we spoke with Thomas earlier, or our French colleagues did earlier, and this is Thomas Ruyant on LinkedOut earlier today.
C'est vrai que bon, j'ai toujours l'impression un peu de courir après le petit timing là qui me manque pour être du bon côté de ce qui se passe. Voilà, mais écoute, c'est comme ça, je m'accroche. Là encore une fois, bon, ça file par devant. Là, j'essaie d'avoir une route qui me semble être pas si mal là pour essayer de creuser un petit peu sur derrière, mais encore une fois, le timing là est pas au top là. Je prends un petit peu de retard dans le passage de ce front et voilà, bon, ça va recroiser avec Damien, mais pas loin devant, ça c'est sûr. Voilà, donc ça va faire une belle arrivée groupée au Horn dans peu de temps maintenant.
Bon, après il reste pas mal de chemin à faire quand même, hein.
Ouais, bien sûr. La course est loin d'être terminée, mais c'est vrai que là ce Pacifique il nous gâte en système météo divers et variés à négocier, c'est jamais simple. La situation coule pas de source et c'est vrai que Ouais, les solutions sont multiples et pas faciles à trouver. Et je trouve une météo assez peu fiable à moyen et long terme, donc c'est vraiment dur d'établir des stratégies. Donc j'essaye de faire un petit peu, pas au jour le jour, mais quasiment quoi. Voilà, en tout cas ça fait un beau match, une belle régate sur cette fin de sud qui commence à être longue. Et ouais, là, pressé de passer ce fameux Cap Horn qu'on attend tous avec impatience. C'est pour dans pas très longtemps, donc écoute, voilà, après ça remonte, la course sera encore longue en Atlantique, il va encore se passer beaucoup de choses, mais pour l'instant, voilà, passage de Horn, je sais même pas trop prévu là, ça change un peu tout le temps, mais d'ici 2 jours, enfin 2-3 jours.
Bon, je sais que c'est très anecdotique pour vous, mais quand même, on passe en 2021. Je voulais juste savoir ce qu'il fallait te souhaiter.
Qu'il faut me souhaiter en 2021, à moi d'arriver au sable. Après au monde, je pense que ce virus disparaisse, je dirais. Et puis ce que je t'aimerais souhaiter aussi, c'est que cette promo LinkedOut là, de 90 personnes qui ont été mis en ligne puissent retrouver du taf dans l'année, ça serait vraiment un super cadeau. Voilà, je sais pas, et puis que les bars soient ouverts quand on arrive au Sable d'Olonne, par exemple.
So Thomas Ruyant saying there's plenty of race left to get back into the podium positions. But Géry Trentesaux, you sailed with Thomas on his IMOCA for 24 hours. What was that like?
Sorry, could you repeat?
Yeah, I'm saying you sailed with Thomas on his IMOCA for 24 hours. What was that like?
Uncomfortable. They're really crazy to sail on this kind of boats, yeah. And the boat is less comfortable downwind than upwind, or you sail at 29 knots and you stop on a wave at 12 knots. They're a bit crazy to do that. It's an adventure before to be a race, the Vendée Globe.
Indeed. Did you get any sleep?
Not really. No, it's finished for me, this kind of boat.
Are you sure now?
Yeah, sure. I will race the next Rock 600 on a class 40, but it's 3 days, so it's not so long.
Good. Now listen, just explain to us, Géry, a little bit about the business network, the support group that you have for Thomas that got this project going. How does it work?
It's big. The project began 4 years ago when Thomas was did the last Vendée Globe, and with 15 businessmen from Lille, we decided to buy this boat. So we are probably asked to Marcus, but 12 or 13 shareholder of the boat. And we all like the race. Thomas is a very good guy. He's a serious and very tough guy, and we support him as we support the north of France, the region, the Hauts-de-France region. Yeah.
But it's a project to support Thomas, or is it a project for the region primarily?
Not for the region, but we are all from the same place, so it's a businessman team who support Thomas.
And then there's a wider organisation beyond that, is there?
The what?
There's a bigger organisation of smaller companies beyond that, or is it just?
No, some are mediums, some are bigs, some are littles. It's not the companies who put the money. It's the
individuals.
The individuals, yeah.
And they're all sailors, are they, or all just fans of the race?
They are all sailors. They are not all competitors, but they are sailors, and they are also fan of Thomas. Yeah.
Indeed. Marcus, maybe I could ask you, is this a model that you could see working elsewhere, or is this kind of unique to this area, do you think?
Oh, no, I think it's, I don't think it's unique. I mean, there are no two projects that are put together the same way. different financial arrangements are made to initiate these projects, and then sponsorship comes towards them as you get further away from the build and into the operational side of things. But I think Thomas, as you pointed out, is from the north, which is a different part of France to the Brittany region, and he was an outsider when he started, but he's been living there for 10 years in Lorient now, and but he's kept very much his links with the north of France, and his opportunity in the last Vendée Globe with the Souffle du Nord opened up a lot of eyes in the north of France, businesses and what have you, to the capacity and the character of Thomas and the possibilities of the Vendée Globe. And Géry is one of several shareholders that have made this happen, and it's fantastic that this. It's not so much a business proposition as a stepping stone to allow performance to happen in this race, but also then what we did with LinkedOut was to give the naming of the boat to a charity, such that the value of the performance side is in the media terms is turned into something that has sense on the social side, and that's working pretty well for us. So Thomas just mentioned it there a minute ago, that he hopes that all of our candidates will get jobs in 2021. We've already made quite a lot of progress in 2020, but the whole thing, you know, there are new ways of doing things. There are evolving ways of doing things. The world is evolving all the time, and the way we put this project together with Géry and his friends and the other sponsors that are involved with the project is perhaps a little bit different from others, but there's no two models the same, put it that way. And for sure, I think it would be good to look at this as a case study, but you know, this is an expensive sport, and we're very, very fortunate to have people like Géry and the other shareholders who believe in this sport and the value that it can bring to a wider cause.
Indeed, I would say it's a model that you would like to see perhaps being able to be moved to different areas. You know, you worked in Ireland previously and got some way down the route. Is that a possibility for the future again for Ireland, do you think? Or
well, yes, I think, I mean, in many places there are different ways. There's always different ways of doing things. France is an unusual situation in that the event has a huge media coverage in France. And so just by being an entry in this race, there is automatic value guaranteed with that. If you're a performance team and you're, you know, in the top 10 or the top 5 or even the top 3, the media exposure is just phenomenal. And I'm not just talking about the Vendée Live that we're doing here. I have to say as well, for this edition, I've been involved with the Vendée Globe for many years, several editions with different teams, but I've never had as much media coverage or media interviews myself from French media, but also from foreign media. And the foreign fans that are out there that are contacting me via Facebook and all the rest of it, it's just phenomenal. People who would have no association with the Vendée Globe before or a race around the world. Now, whether that's because of COVID or not, but just to mention a few, you know, a paddleboard club in Brisbane that contacted me to understand a bit more about it, and South African residents of the town I live in here that have no association with sailing but are curious about it. And it's just phenomenal, really, that the value and the growth of the understanding of what the Vendée Globe is. So we have to evolve that with different financial models and different project management outlines to make this thing happen. You know, there are 33 boats that started this race. There are still an awful lot of boats in the race. This race is going to take probably at least 10 days longer for the first boats to finish. So, you know, that's three good months of media value. Now, for sure, it's over a time of the year where there's not a lot going on. Christmas and New Year on the sports side is usually relatively quiet. This year with COVID and everything's a little bit more unusual, but you know, we have a great opportunity here, and again, there are many ways to make these projects happen again in the future. But IMOCA is not just one race every 4 years with the Vendée Globe. There's a full circuit of races. We have a lot of races going to be planned for 2021 around Europe race in May and June, and then the Jacques Vabre in the autumn. And then next year, as Armel pointed out, there's the Route de Rome So there's value all the time for these things, and you don't need to be looking at this as just a one-hit wonder. It's a long-term thing.
Now, Marcus, I've got a quick internet question for you. I mean, you obviously get loads of mail from all around the world, as indeed we do. I mean, we have certainly never had as much response from everywhere. We have emails from Canada and Italy, Germany, and Antipodes as well. But meantime, Marcus, would a T-foil rudder fly the boat more and reduce the slam impact in the bow? A question from David in the UK.
Well, David, that's a very interesting question, and I'm not going to be able to answer it simply by saying yes or no. A T-foil in many conditions will make the boat fly in a very different configuration to the way they're designed to fly now. As you know, we're not allowed T-foils. The IMOCA class rule doesn't allow more than a certain number of appendages, and we have investigated adding T-foils, but the cost of that and the optimization would be prohibitive and make the boats even more an even bigger jump in performance over what currently exists. Although it's hard to say there is a big jump in performance for this time around, but there's no question that the foiling boats go extremely well in reaching conditions, something that they haven't really had at all in the Southern Ocean, and not an awful lot of in the descent of the Atlantic either. But to answer your question, yes, it would make a difference. Not all the time, but it's something we've looked at. When I say we, I'm talking about the class, the IMOCA class, and we've decided to put the handbrake on that line of development for the next 4 years, purely on the cost side of things.
Indeed. Géry, one question for you, which you may possibly have answered, but from the internet, somebody asking, having sailed Thomas's boat with him, could you race the fastnet on your own on Thomas's boat?
No, I will not raise the fastnet with him. I will raise the fastnet on the Antoine Carpentier, the next fastnet on Antoine Carpentier, a new class 40 with a courier. Yeah.
Very interesting. And is the finish in Cherbourg, is that an advantage to you?
No, not at all. I was not agree with the decision to finish the fastnet in Cherbourg, because it's an English race, and I like the Cherbourg, but I prefer that the fastnet finish in Plymouth.
Géry, we're not going to talk about Brexit, but I'll come back to you in just a minute. Let's have a look at the weather situation today for the approach to Cape Horn. As we say, Charlie Dallin managing to stay in touch with Yannick Bestaven. This is the weather. So our last weather forecast, our last weather outlook for 2020, and starting off with a quick representation of the anti-meridian there, 180 degrees east, 180 degrees west, and this is, we can just see Kojira Shiraishi just approaching, and so he will be the skipper who has the chance to either slow down and have 2 31sts or speed up and have 2 New Years. But in general, it's interesting to note that pretty much the anti-meridian pretty much splits the fleet in half at the moment. Sebastian Destremo way back here on the Mersey, and down here just under Cape Horn we have Yannick Bestaven leading into the new year. So let me set up this very nice animation, and let's play that forward. So this is the approach to Cape Horn. We see now that Charlie Dallin and Yannick Bestaven have the opportunity to stay, or Dallin's got the chance to stay just in front of the front all the time, whereas we're watching Thomas Ruyant, he's behind the system. If I can just stop that there briefly, you'll see that, bring it up a little bit. You'll see that this is the centre of the low. Thomas Ruyant and the chasing group are ending up behind it. Charlie Dallin, because he's been going so fast and pushing really, really hard, he manages to stay in front of the system. And then it's just here, I'll just run it forward now. So here is so we're watching, as I say, Dallin and Bestaven managing to stay in front of the system. Thomas Ruyant having to route south really to stay in check with the chasing pack. But we're now starting to see a bigger stretch for Charlie Dallin and Thomas Ruyant staying quite south to come up underneath the low pressure system as much as possible, and that's the approach just late on Saturday or early on Sunday. And also say to note that the chasing pack end up behind the low pressure system. They have a little bit of a period of lighter winds, and then they come into the southwesterly afterwards. Much colder wind and much more variable and wind shifting around in direction a lot, and bigger seas for the chasing pack. But looking good just now for the two leaders, who should actually go round Cape Horn quite close together. Indeed, so bringing in 2021 at Cape Horn, what could be better for the Vendée Globe? Marcus, your New Year's resolutions for 2021?
Oh.
You're still working on them?
Yeah, I don't often do that sort of thing. I have to be honest and say that we're living the race a little bit like the sailors, like you said. You know, it's one day after another, and I've just realised that it is in fact the last day of the year. I hadn't really given it much thought. We're in lockdown here in Ireland, so there's nobody going out. There's nobody able to do anything. So I'm just at home with the family. New Year's resolution, I guess, is not to stress so much about these boats when they're at sea. It is very, very draining on all of us. I had a little shock this morning. Many of you probably saw that Thomas' speed at 9 o'clock this morning was just 2 knots. And that's never a good sign. And God, I was really, really nervous about that, and I couldn't contact him. And but I managed to work out all on my own that he was in a period of absolutely no wind at all just after the front, and it was the rankings had taken his position and his speed absolutely at the moment that he was stopped in this no breeze situation. But look, it's fantastic, but at the same time, it's really stressful. I know we say that every time. I'm looking forward to spending more time with my family and less time concentrating on trackers and worrying about people at sea maybe in 2021 than I did in 2020. But we have a month to go still.
Indeed we do, Marcus. And Géry, Trentesaux, your New Year's resolutions, what are you hoping for in 2021 with the courier team?
Yes, I hope next year I will work less, so I will have a lot of time to sail and to spend time with my wife. I hope to sail Dragon. I'm sailing Dragon now, and I hope to sail to return to Cowes. This year we didn't come to Isle of Wight, so well, so I hope to be able to go to Cowes on next summer.
And Géry, sometime back to Scotland, surely?
Yes, of course. Yes, I like Scotland also.
Good, thank you so much, both of you. Happy New Year to you both, and we'll see you again over the course of the race. So
thank you, Andy.
Géry, Trentesaux and Marcus Hutchinson on our last show for 2020. Join us tomorrow. We'll still be in Ireland, actually. We'll be joined by Enda Coineen, who did the last race. He'll give us a little bit of entertainment, I'm quite sure. Any questions for Enda or anyone on the Vendée Globe team, put them on Facebook, Instagram, or indeed on Twitter. We'll see you next year.
Thank you.